With over 2 decades' experience in implementing ERP and business management applications, we work with organisations across the UK to implement Acumatica Cloud ERP software. Acumatica is a browser-based true cloud ERP. This means you can access your business from basically anywhere that you have access to the internet and on any device such as a desktop computer, tablet or smartphone. Acumatica will automatically adjust to accommodate whichever device it is that you're using. To begin my demonstration today, I'm going to log into my system. I'm currently using a single admin username and password to log in, but Acumatica also supports two-factor authentication. This is where the user may also have to provide authorization on a secondary device to gain access to the system. I'm using Microsoft Edge here, but Acumatica is supported by almost all browsers. Acumatica is role-based, so this means that your users are only going to have access to the areas that they need to do their jobs. For example, an accounts user may see options such as finance, payables and receivables, but won't see the options for inventory, sales and purchase orders. These menu options on the left are called Workspaces. Clicking on them will open up a screen of further options that we call quick menus. This gives users fast and easy access into commonly used tasks. We can expand on this screen to show full menus, which show the user options that they may use occasionally but don't want to see on a day-to-day basis. Users can have full control of what they see on their quick menus by simply going into the settings and then ticking and unticking checkboxes. At any point, menus can be set back to the default layout. If we open up the sales order transaction screen, we can see a list of all sales orders in the system. We can choose the order that we view the columns in. We can also filter by columns such as order type or order date, and we can even export our list of transactions into Excel at the click of a button. If we want to add a new sales order, then we click on the plus to add a new record. Any of these menu options can be a tile as well, so rather than going into the list of sales orders and then adding a new one, we could click on the new sales order tile and go straight into the Create Sales Order screen directly. Acumatica supports multiple companies, multiple branches and multiple currencies, all within the one system. As we change the companies and branches, you can see the base colours are also changing along with the company logos. This helps the user see at a glance which area that they're working in. We have also got the universal search function. This is a little bit like Googling your ERP database. We can type in text and hit search, and Acumatica will go off and search for all instances of the search text within the database. We can see here that there are many transactions with the text ABC within the records. There are also some menu items, as well as help files, and also some stored documents. Now we're going to have a look at the dashboards, which are in the main area of the Acumatica screen. Different users have different interests in the business, and dashboards can be tailored for them to view and monitor the information that is important to them. Dashboards give users real-time information at their fingertips, which enables them to do their job more effectively and efficiently. You can navigate to your home dashboard at any time by selecting the Acumatica logo in the top left corner of the screen. Right now I'm looking at how many orders I need to ship. That's CRM data with open opportunities, AR data, contact data. Over here some item data. I'm able to pull all of that information in from the entire Acumatica database onto the one screen. All of these panels are called widgets, and widgets can display data in lots of different formats. They can be graphs, charts, data panels, or tiles that can be drilled down upon to see further information. We've got the ability to use colours to highlight things to users. We don't want to have to be scrolling through pages of data to get to the fact that we have 5 late orders, so we have it highlighted in red here. We've got 7 orders to ship, that's okay, so that's in green. These are all set up as thresholds. If I change the overdue support cases to have a normal threshold of 20 and an alarm threshold of 30, we can then pick the colours that we want our widgets to display. Let's go and add a new widget to the bottom of our dashboard. Clicking on Add Widget gives me the option of adding 9 different widget types. In this example, I'm just going to pick a simple chart, but you can see all of the other options here. Let's say that I want to see a graph of all of my customers with an overdue balance of over 10,000. I'm going to pick the AR customer summary view. I'll put a filter on here to say that I only want to return results where the overdue value is greater than 10,000. I can select how often I want the dashboard to refresh the data. This will help save processing time when inquiries are compiling large amounts of data. Then I can configure the actual data that I want to see. So let's have this as a column chart with the customer name on one axis and then the overdue balance on the other. And we'll total by overdue balance. Now if we go back to the dashboard, you will see our new widget here. I can hover over the columns and see the values. Then I can click on the section of the widget that I want to drill down further on. In addition to drilling down, we can also filter on our dashboard data. So on this particular dashboard, I have a parameter field at the top here. This is where I can filter the dashboard to look at an individual customer rather than all of my customers. So you can see that ABC Studios don't have any overdue AR or late orders, as I'm seeing these widgets in green. However, this customer has late orders, has exceeded their credit limit, and has some outstanding support cases. Let's clear this filter and have a look at the drill down in a little bit more detail. I've got 152 open opportunities here, so let's look at them in a bit more detail. As we start drilling down on these widgets, we have the ability to look at this information in that grid type view again, where we can sort and we can filter. In this screen, we have some conditional formatting. If it's 1, it's in green. If it's overdue, it's in red. And if we're missing information, it's in yellow. I've got a side panel here that I can pop out to give me even more information about the data that I'm seeing without me having to drill down and open up every record. I can see any activities, details, quotes, estimates against the opportunity all at a glance. So now let's go and have a look at our user experience in a bit more detail. The easier we can make it for people to navigate around and use the system, the more acceptance we get from users. We'll use the sales order module as that's probably the most common one our existing customers use. We briefly looked at these quick menus earlier on in this presentation, and I talked about tiles and how we can have fast and easy access into functions that we use often. We can also right-click on these tiles and have the option to open up the screen in a new tab or a new window. We're able to have multiple versions of the same screen open at the same time. So we could be working on an existing sales order on one tab and then processing a brand new sales order on another tab, all whilst keeping an eye on our dashboard on the original tab. Back on the quick menu, I can click to the left of the menu items and highlight them as favourites. I can do this on any module, and this will build me up my own favourites menu that I can access at the top of the screen. Although we are looking at the sales order module, a lot of the functionality is universal throughout the system. If we open up the sales order form again, you will see that it has a header level, which holds the base data for this record, and then underneath we have a series of different tabs. The use of these tabs makes the screens easier to use, and it means that none of the screens are overly busy or confusing. We have to pick a customer code here for this sales order, and we can either search on it, or we can use the type ahead function to start to narrow down our results as we type. We can have notes on here that are specific to the transaction. When I go and add some text and save it, the icon turns yellow to let the users know that there are notes against this order. We can also attach files to the transaction, either by browsing for files on our hard drive, or we can actually go and drag and drop the files onto our transaction screen and have it automatically uploaded. If we go and put a line on the sales order and then save it as completed, we may then want to go and email it to our customer. If I click on these 3 dots and go into Email Sales Order, Acumatica will use a predefined template to email a copy of the order to the email address against the customer record. You will now see that Activities is updated to show that I now have an activity against the transaction. I can go into this and view the actual email that was sent to the customer. I can also see that a PDF copy of the order was attached and also sent with the email. So notes, activities, files, these are all universal features. You can use them on a customer master, a purchase order, a journal entry, and so on. If we look at the details section, we saw earlier how we can move these types of column around. We also have the ability to add and remove these columns as well. If we go into the column configuration, we have our available columns on the left and our selected or displayed columns on the right. If, for example, we don't use project task, we can simply move it over from the selected list and it won't appear on our screen. We can also import data into our Acumatica transaction screens from external sources. Let's say that your customer sends you an Excel spreadsheet with a list of items they wish to order. You can select the file and simply import it in. If the customer has used column headers that Acumatica doesn't recognise, we can map them on the fly, meaning that we can cater for all of the different formats that may be sent in from your customers. Throughout Acumatica, we can also add user-defined fields. We do this by firstly setting up the user-defined field name and then a list of attributes that can be selected against it. For example, here I have industry and then a list of selectable industries. If I now go and add this to my sales order by choosing it in the Add User-Defined Field option, when we go back to the main sales order screen, you will see that we now have an additional tab where we can go and choose the industry type of this customer. Next, we'll look at how we can tailor our user screens further by adding filters to the data that is displayed. I'll use the Accounts Payable Bills to Pay screen for this. So what we currently have is a list of our open invoices that need to be approved for payment. Let's say that we only want to pay invoices over 20,000. We could use the filters on the columns as we've seen before, but in this case, we don't want to be doing that every time if this is something that we want to filter on quite often. If I go to filter settings and add a new filter, we'll choose the property of balance and then the condition of greater than, put in the 20,000. Let's call this over 20k. Now when I come back to the main screen, you'll see that there is now an extra tab where all of our invoices with a balance of over 20,000 are listed. The last thing that I want to show you on this introduction is the automation schedules. Often we carry out manual repetitive tasks every day or week. We might run a certain report on a Friday afternoon or carry out a payment run on a Tuesday. The Acumatica automation schedules allow us to set these tasks to run automatically without us having to instigate a process manually. A good example is printing the sales order pick list. Rather than us having to manually run this and send it to the warehouse to pick the orders, we can go into the automation schedule. Then on the schedule tab, we can choose that this process is going to be run daily, and then we can put in the time that we want it to run. This could also be run weekly, and we can choose our days, or even monthly, and then maybe every 2 months, on the 3rd day, or even things like the 2nd Wednesday, and so on. So that concludes our brief introduction to the Acumatica ERP software. For a more in-depth tailored demonstration or for further information, please contact us on the phone number or the email address on the screen. Many thanks for watching.